Arjun has around 20 years experience in the marketing space, currently the Chief Marketing Officer at matrimony.com. All of us know this homegrown brand, and Arjun moved 3 years back from Delhi to a lovely coastal city. He's previously worked with Samsung, IBM, and multiple other technology companies, including Motorola as well. And I think a lot of insights we've been working closely with Arjun over the last few years, and I think the way they manage complexity is amazing. So really looking forward to that discussion. Next, like to call Mr. Ajit Narasimhan. He's the Chief Marketing Officer at Sundaram Mutual, and a very established conglomerate in the South, the Sundaram Finance Group. There are multiple companies. Ajit's been leading the Sundaram Mutual business and really scaled it up over the last few years. And previously, he was the head of savings and investments at Bank Bazaar. He has an MBA from Great Lakes and very young and enterprising entrepreneur within the Sundaram Group. So look forward to having this discussion with him this week. Thank you, gentlemen, again for joining us today morning. I think to kickstart the discussion, both of you come from different industries. I wanted to kickstart with how has it been to move from an era where things are relatively stable to a path where a lot of innovation is happening and businesses are being challenged in multiple directions, right? So how are you all looking to move from a traditional business to like a more modern and tech-enabled businesses as well? Either way,
Thanks Sunil, Vikas and the social media team for having me here. Good morning everyone. So the way I look at it, right, we want to go back down history, look at where we were about 10 years ago. A lot has changed in the period between 2010-11 to where we are today, right? Broadly, three things have changed, and I'm going to try and see if all of you can connect with me in the context of BFSI for a moment, and then we can go beyond BFSI. So if you look at BFSI, three things have changed. One is, I think a lot has happened on technology. A lot has happened in terms of what is popularly known as ease of doing business, ease of transactions. So a lot of digitization has happened. The second thing is the demographics have changed completely, right? There's a significantly younger audience wanting to consume financial services. That's the second aspect. The third thing is by default what's happened is two important stakeholders in this ecosystem, the regulator and manufacturers like us have also had to pivot, right? Regulators have had to work overtime because consumers are wanting to consume products differently, right? And manufacturers like us have also had to pivot. So that's why your question in terms of how traditional businesses like us, and we've had that a lot more exaggerated than many other companies because Sundaram, as you know, is a 65, 70-year-old brand. The mutual fund business is about 26, 27 years old. So we've had a fairly rough time trying to understand which way we need to go, right? One of the things that came to us in around 2014-15 is that what we started to see very early on is that the way consumers started to consume financial products started to mimic consumer tech, right? This whole concept of researching online and consuming offline started to happen somewhere in 2015-16 period. Today it's very different because a lot of the research and the consumption is happening digital, right? 2014-15 consumption was still happening offline, but research was happening online, which is very, very common to us today. It was not common then. So that's where we had to pivot and say, look, we need to start building a digital presence, right? So from 2014-15 is where we really started to look at digital strategically. And from 17-18 onwards has been our go-to platform. So a lot of our content, engagement, customer acquisition, wanting to be present is all digital today. So digital is our anchor platform, right? So one is to start building presence. The second thing is that once you start building presence, the younger audience wants to consume digitally as well. So we've had to start making investments on tech as well, right? So the days of consuming offline is gone. The days of consuming online is here. So that's been the journey over the last 10 years, and the regulators kind of embraced this and maybe been behind the curve or ahead of the curve. That's debatable. But I think that's how the ecosystem has evolved for us. And at Sundaram, and I can speak for the industry itself, I think digital, and whether it's digital marketing or tech, is no more a cost center. It is really looked at as a revenue center, and that's where the topic today is about how are we driving profitability. We'll come to that. But I think that's a very, very important metric that has started to gain momentum in the recent past. Right? So that's how the journey has been.
Thanks, Ajit, for sharing that. Definitely love to touch a bit upon the B2B and B2C side. But I think since you've touched upon profitability, one of the few profitable consumer internet companies, Matrimony. So, Arjun, I'd love to hear the journey.
Sure, Sunil. First of all, thanks Sunil and the Social Peak team for inviting me for this, and congratulations on, I think this is the 10th leadership summit that you're doing. It's a huge thing, in the fast evolving digital marketing agency space also, being there and growing year on year for 10 years. So congratulations on that. Before I touch on the profitability part of it, just to give you a context on our business, while you would be reading a lot about some of the other businesses, BFSI obviously is an important part and parcel of our lives, so we have to be in touch with it no matter what or where we are. The matchmaking business is as traditional as it can get in India, and for us, surprisingly, when you think of it, we are a purely online business for the last 23 years. So I was just discussing with someone offline also. Before you started buying soaps and shampoos, which is such a low involvement category online, people were finding matches online and deciding to, spend the next 30-40 years of their life with a person and finding them online. So it's a very dichotomous kind of a thing. You're finding people since last 20 years online, and now you are getting onto online space for a lot of other things, or rather every other thing. So the way the journey has gone for matchmaking in India, and by the way, matchmaking in India as an industry is equivalent in terms of speed, innovation and futuristic outlook like any other Western country. In fact, we came earlier than a lot of big players that we hear about globally, be it Tinder or any other organization that we hear about in the larger people-to-people kind of an industry we are in. So the way marketing has evolved for matchmaking, earlier the discovery of our products or online services was completely in the traditional way. So TV was one of the biggest medium, and we were fighting at that time with the traditional ways of matchmaking, which is friends, family, or at max brokers or marriage bureaus, which still exist, and but the dynamics are changing. So discovery was happening offline and consumption was happening online. In the last 5-7 years, just the way Ajit was also explaining, now both the discovery and the consumption has moved online, and while moving online, the discovery, a lot of decision making has moved away from just parents deciding to the individuals deciding. Parents do come in the picture because as we all know, weddings and marriages are still a family affair in India, unlike Western world to some extent. So discovery happens now online, and as we are chasing the customers, the platforms are also segmenting out. So it's no more a linear journey that earlier we had TV, people saw it, awareness was built, some interest level was generated, and finally they came online and did their transaction or consideration or final interaction with the platform over there. Now it has become completely non-linear. You are discovering something online, maybe you read a review about a product, or you chanced upon an influencer marketing campaign of ours where an influencer is speaking about the merits of going online versus traditional matchmaking, and you discover it on your pace, and you do the behaving on whether you want to be on a platform or not. So that's how the journey is changing for us. And no more it is as simple as discovery, ATL, and consumption at max digital at that time meant, I'm talking 10 years back, just probably Google search. So all that is gone. Now we are an app-based, completely app-based, or 90% app-based business. So the complexity has also increased. We'll speak about it in some.
I think you were mentioning earlier on the complexity of 300 different products at Matrimony, right? You want to touch on how do you manage that complexity?
Sure. So just to give you a sense, India is not a homogeneous country. You know, every 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers, the language changes, the culture changes, and also the caste and communities change. So we have over 300 plus brands or apps, which I was telling Sunil some time ago, and you can imagine any kind of matchmaking we are in it, be it by religion, be it by caste, be it by communities, be it by languages, be it by states, or even be it by professions, education. For example, we have something called a doctor's matrimony, which does extremely well because doctors have a certain kind of a lifestyle, and they feel that only a doctor can understand their lifestyle, so they want to get married to a doctor. And similarly, we have services in caste community. People prefer to there are different kinds of people. Some people are very specific, they want to get married to a certain caste and community. So the way we manage this whole complexities, we are into hyper targeting, and thankfully with the way digital has evolved, it has relatively become easier. I will not say it's completely easier, but still relatively it's become better. We can go on to multiple platforms, understand people's needs, interests, pain points, and what kind of matchmaking they are looking at. Either they are looking at a lifestyle based or a caste based, community based, and all that. And that's how we really manage the whole product portfolio or the brands that we have. And of course, then there are a series of interventions across the funnel, from top of the funnel till bottom of the funnel. And all these products, I'll not say all 300 we are actively working on, but yes, on any given point of time, we are actively managing at least 50 brands in India with the core purpose of making people meet.
Got it. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's very insightful to hear that the core product is managed, but how do you segment customers and really go after them? I think in the mutual fund space, it's actually becoming simpler in some sense of the fund house, right? But could you maybe add on where is the complexity in your business today and how you're driving innovation there?
So for us, it's I think we've been complex for far too long. So financial services needs to get less complex. I think that's our objective. And the regulators has done a wonderful job in making it simpler, right? I think for us, the challenge is twofold. One is very clearly there are two segments of customers that are emerging in India today. I think colloquially we all say there's Bharat and Urban India and all of that, right? I think to a certain extent that's true. But what's happening to us is that one segment of the market wants to consume investment or banking products directly with the manufacturer, right? They don't want to have an intermediary, right? They don't like the word broker. Right? You have real estate, nobroker.com, and everywhere there is a kill the intermediary concept which is going on, especially in the digital world. Now that you can access products in a far more democratic manner, the assumption is that you can do away without the intermediary. That's one. The second thing is that there are people who say, look, I need help, and that's where the intermediary comes in. Now, we can have a debate on which way this is going to go, but for the moment, that's our biggest challenge, right? So as a marketer, who's your customer? Is your customer the intermediary or the distributor or the financial advisor, or is the customer the end customer, right? So that's a debate that's on for us. The way we have looked at it, I think both are very important, right? So for us, B2B, we continue to believe B2B is very, very crucial to us. 85 to 90% of our business comes through that channel, but 10% comes from the direct to customer, right? The younger audience is slightly different. You go to the Gen Z world with the advent of fintech, right? Whether it's Zerodha, Grow, etc., all of that, I think clearly. But then again, it's 10%. It's not more than that, right? So for us, what we're trying to do is, who do you really need to start working with? Who are those channels who are those customer segments that you need to engage with? How do you build content for them? How do you engage with them? What are the right channels? Especially in the digital context, where I think a lot of platforms have emerged in the last 3-4 years. It's very fragmented, right? So as marketer, as an organization, it's next to impossible to actually start building credible scale in each channel. So you've got to prioritize, pick your battles, understand where the customers are. So the way we look at it, financial services in India is still a 75 million sort of a number that we look at. So we have segmented the audience saying, look, 50 to 75 million tops is the real funnel that we want to look at the top, and then we start working on various campaigns, various interventions. We can discuss that. How do you go down the funnel to target customers? I think that's really the base that we want to work with, and this is broadly within the top 15 cities, state capitals, and a little beyond that. So about 50 cities in India that really matter, that can move the needle. Everything else is important to us, but there are 50 cities in India that can potentially move the needle. Everything else is a
So with the digital shift, Ajit and Arjun as well, like have you all shifted your budgets as well to both the digital mediums, and how is that progressing in the industry?
So for us it is almost 95-5, right? We were 100-0. 100 for non-digital 7-8 years ago. And I think that's where I think Social Beat has really helped us. And I've never looked at Social Beat as a marketing agency. I think you're part of our business in every way possible. That's why you guys have helped us build that confidence in digital. So today it's I think almost 90-10, right? It's a disproportionate allocation towards digital. And within digital, there are various ways we look at spends as well, right? So there are elements of very clearly articulated brand plans that we have. There is a level of performance that we also do, and within that, there's a lot of work happening around around campaigns itself, right? Because that is also becoming very critical in terms of emails continue to be relevant. It's some people think it's irrelevant, but for us, I think emails continue to be extremely relevant. WhatsApp is becoming extremely big. So I think we slowly, as we start nudging segments to convert. And at the end of the day, financial services is a fantastic LTV product, right? And there's no need to. This is not unlike a loan product. In lending, if you have a same customer wanting a loan multiple times, there's a problem. But that's for the later. But in our business, it's fantastic, right? You want consumers to keep buying and adding mutual funds at every stage in your life, right? So I think that's where digital plays a big role.
Oh, that's interesting to hear you move from 100-0 to the other way around now. Arjun, what about you all, and how you are driving that?
Yeah, so our mix has a very sharp change which has happened. So one was pre-pandemic, other is post-pandemic. So pre-pandemic we were somewhere like 70-30. 70 was your traditional medium, 30 was digital, and that 30 was primarily search and all, which was all pull based. Nothing was push based, or it was very minor push based. Pandemic happened, people were at home, they had some free time. Our numbers shot off the roof. Suddenly a lot of people started exploring matchmaking. They had more time probably in hand and all that. Once the pandemic went down and things started becoming normal, what we saw was our media mix or our pull channels started changing automatically. We rather than us innovating, the customers wanted us to innovate and wanted us to be discovered on different platforms of what was happening earlier. Also, a lot of our TG, apart from the individuals who are registering, also comes from the parents community. And TV, one of the reasons was also heavy was because we wanted to reach to parents. So post-pandemic, that shift also started happening. And now we are almost 60% digital and 40% TV, which also rapidly is going down. And the other part is even the campaigns that we are running for the parents, targeting parents also, because parents now are in their late 40s, early 50s who are getting their children married. So they have also seen one way of internet, so to say. So they are also more digitally savvy and they are consuming other products also. I'm sure financial products also. So that overall landscape itself is changing. So we are at 60-40 right now, and I think we are holding on to that 60-40. Probably if we let it completely be, we would also be somewhere around 75-25, and I see that happening in the next year or two.
Understood. And obviously this is driven by ROI and looking at like how you all are driving customer acquisition, right?
Yeah, so we are a very performance heavy brand. Of course, Social Beat knows that we do bulk of our performance marketing through you guys, and the way we chase performance, almost literally on a day-on-day basis. And unlike other industries, the challenge with our industry is that we don't have a concept of long-term customer value. We really don't have too much to cross-sell or upsell. In fact, if a customer is staying on our platform for long, we are unhappy about it, because that means that he has not found a match through us. So for us, whether we are getting positive ROI within 30 to 45 days on an acquisition is the most critical question, and that's how we evaluate platforms, whether they are continuing to give us ROI within 30 to 45 days, and most importantly, efficiency at scale. That's also very important, because see, the matchmaking industry in India is around 100 million marriages happen every year. But the penetration of people coming online to find a match is still, in few percentage points. It's somewhere around 6 to 7%. So we have a huge market to cover right now. So it's very important that we are scaling up but not losing efficiency out. So that's how we really measure ROI. And of course, then there are layers of measuring ROI. There are so many tools and all that to do that at different layers of data, be it CRM, be it analytics, be it social listening, and ad tech and all that.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, just want to add an ROI here because I think Arjun also talked about cross-sell. One of the things I want to caution, is everyone tends to assume that cross-sell is easy and it's a slam dunk, especially, and I've seen a ton of startups in the last 7-8 years emerge. I worked in one, as you all know. Cross-sell is easier said than done. Okay, consumers in India are not consumers who say, look, I like this and I like you, I'll buy another product very easily. It's not easy, right? So I think it's good to talk about lifetime value. It's good to talk about how at different stages people can buy multiple products. It doesn't happen overnight. There's got to be a very compelling product offering. There's got to be a very compelling value proposition. At the same time, there's got to be some level of tech that comes in, right? And especially in the world that we're living in today, where there's a lot of noise around AI. I still don't know whether that same time next year, whether there will be a substantial move ahead in favor of this, right? We've seen it. It's tough, very very difficult. Whereas it's a lot easier for a consumer to buy a product the first time. The way I see this pivoting is if you're able to offer an ecosystem sort of a play, right? And I think that's where the younger audience is going. The younger audience doesn't want to have multiple touch points. They want to have a single bank, and within that bank, can I get everything, right? The supermarkets, the Amazon world, the ecosystem play, the Google play, the Apple play, right? That's where I see financial services heading. And that's the challenge for us as we can potentially look at us as an NBFC that has multiple products. I work for the investment business, right? So will I have a job 5 years from now in this can be debated, right? I think that's where we're heading, and to me that's where the ROI will really come in. Because otherwise we're looking at a very very small segment and then micro segmenting it and then pulling out an ROI and saying, look, yeah, this is actually making money to us. Whereas the larger canvas, it's not making money, right? Otherwise, this is how we track ROI today. But I think the ecosystem is where we all need to
zooming out and looking at the bigger picture.
There has to be a telescopic view of this and say, look, because the consumer clearly doesn't want multiple touch points. They want a single experience, especially in the financial services world. I see that emerging.
I think the other question I wanted to touch, because the theme was growth through innovation. How are your businesses investing for the future? And obviously with new technologies, including AI now coming in, a lot of things are slated to change, right? So how do you all make those large bets? Obviously small increment bets is easier, but large bets which cost a lot of money as well. How are you all making those bets, and how do you all do that analysis of whether it's worth taking that investment bet?
So, couple of thoughts there, Sunil. One, I'll touch upon the existing products, what we are doing there for innovation, and one, some of the blue ocean strategies that we have. So on the existing products, obviously, the kind of business we are in, we are not selling anything which is tangible or even a proper service, so to say. Like say for example, Urban Lab is selling services, right? End of the day, you see that your house is clean or you've got a good massage. But in our case, it's basically people who are there on the platform. So what can I do in my product as an innovation with whatever is happening right now? So broadly, there are two big top of the towns which are there. One is the whole metaverse experience, which is slightly low right now due to various reasons. Probably the technology has to catch up. And the biggest daddy in the house is obviously AI-based, be it generative or predictive AI. So the way we are seeing this in our products is, if I speak about AI, we are trying to utilize AI in a far more deeper way to give better recommendations to people. So earlier, or right now, all matchmaking platforms have a very rudimentary kind of, matchmaking algorithms which run at the back end. You have given certain kinds of partner preferences. You are from a certain region, certain community, certain caste. Probably you have mentioned certain lifestyle or hobby aspects of your personality, and the matchmaking will happen on that. We call it as the static preferences or personality of you. Then there is this whole aspect of the dynamic personality of yours, which is basically on what are you doing on the platform, what is your behavior on the platform, what kind of profiles you are liking, okay, what kind of interaction you are having on the platform with members of the opposite sex. That is all very dynamic. So our platform is right now not catching that. So that is something that we want to bring in with the use of advanced AI modeling and algorithms and all, so that if someone is coming on our platform, he's seeing value on the platform from day one. He is not doing, the hard work on looking through millions of profiles and finding those 10, 12 profiles which he feels are good, and then he's reaching out to them and getting a yes or a no. So what technology will do basically in the current products is build up that recommendation engine which can curate everything for you and give you a good choice from where then you can take the conversation forward. So that's how we are envisioning. And there are a lot of examples on what's happening. TikTok really started it, on the recommendations, and now obviously, all good short video formats, or even Instagram is doing it. If you're liking certain kinds of topics or you're having certain kind of behavior, the platform automatically throws the right things to you rather than you segregating out. So that's one. Second, on Blue Ocean strategy, I just mentioned to you, India has 100 million marriages happening every year, which means around 50 million couples are getting married, but we are getting only 5-6 million people. So where are the rest of the people going? Everyone is not getting married through traditional methods or brokers and all only. So what we realized was that we are missing out a very huge chunk of population in the country, which is traditionally called as the next billion, which all your digital players like e-commerce, fintech and all are going after, which is the tier 2, tier 3 markets, which has really exploded in the last 5 years with the entry of Jio, smartphones and mobile internet coming in and all that. They had certain restrictions on coming on our products because they were complicated, they were only in English, and of course they were expensive for them to afford. So we launched a product last year which is called Jodi, which is a vernacular product. It's modeled on the lines of Facebook or WhatsApp, very, very simple, just simple messaging, like, share, that kind of no complex setting, trust, searching, setting up partner preferences and all that. And within a year, we've had over 8 million downloads on that product pan India, and we have barely started. So that's one Blue Ocean strategy where we are bringing the power of online matchmaking to the 500-700 million bottom of the funnel kind of bottom of the pyramid kind of people. The other one is, which Ajit was also mentioning, is the ecosystem play. So as I told you, in matchmaking, there is no concept of LTV. At max, a person stays on a platform from 3 months to 9 months. He would either find a match or he would pause his journey for some time for various reasons. So how do we extend our play in the matchmaking space? So we have looked at adjacent markets or adjacent industries for expanding, and the one bigger market that we have is the whole wedding services business, which is completely unorganized. Organized matchmaking is roughly around $200 million. Unorganized wedding services, which is one of the biggest spends till date in a person's life for getting his kids married, is $55 billion, and it's completely unorganized. So that's what we are now working towards. We have a platform called weddingbazaar.com, which has services from over 2 lakh vendors in different categories, makeup, wedding venues, photography and all that. This was all unorganized earlier. You used to just ask for references to your family and friends. You had no idea. You could not self-discover everything. Now on these platforms, it's become like an Amazon. Buyers and sellers are coming on the platform. They are figuring out. They are discovering on their own. There are ratings and reviews on each and every vendor. So that need for today's generation to do the research or the homework themselves rather than depending on anyone else is taken care of with Wedding Bazaar. So that's how we are trying to expand and make it an ecosystem rather than just
that's amazing how you're balancing quarter-on-quarter profitability with all these long-term investments.
So for innovation, I think Arjun again touched upon most of it. So what I'm going to kind of give you a more microscopic view of BFSI, right? So one level of innovation which is already started is on the product side, right? Can products get more simpler? Can you find different ways? For example, there's a lot happening on micro investments, micro insurance, etc. for consumers. That's one. So that's one product level innovation that will play out. Second thing is in terms of advisory itself, right? I think we're already seeing it. I've looked at what ChatGPT can potentially do. I've looked at various, for example, for those who are interested, I've looked at portfolios of 15 large cap stocks that ChatGPT gives vis-a-vis the returns that an actively managed large cap fund has given, right? I'm not going to tell you what the results are, but I've seen the results. so I think there's a lot that can give you, right? So the days of so-called robo-advisory, which I remember, 8-9 years ago, which I worked on and everyone said it will never happen, I think the day is not too far when we are already seeing it, right? So how is that going to play out is an exciting future for us, and I think a lot of us are working in that area where very soon you're going to find machines actually give you quality advice, right? That's the second thing. The third thing is in terms of how we are structured as businesses, right? Today, financial services employs a lot of people. It's a people-oriented business, right? And what are we doing there? Ultimately, it's a relationship game, right? We get to maintain relationships with our customers, with our distributors, etc. That entire piece is getting digitally driven as well. And we saw this anecdotally during COVID, especially in the first lockdown, the 7-8 months, we saw that, and it was uninterrupted. In fact, business actually boomed, right? So anecdotally, we've seen it, and today with tech just getting better, financial services is going to struggle to employ the same number of people that is currently employing, and that's the brutal reality of the world that we live in. So I think that's the other innovation that you're going to see. The fourth thing is in terms of this segment of customers that you're working on. I touched upon the super app ecosystem. I think that's the big innovation lens that a lot of us are building on today. So that's your long-term, big investment sort of piece. We've seen some models take off, some models flop. I still believe the traditional financial services businesses are best placed to capture that piece. Fintechs, some of them are there, some of them are flaky, some of them are not sure which way to go. But I think the traditional businesses are best placed to actually capture that piece. So I think these are 4 levels of innovation that I see playing out in BFSI over the next, and this is not some 20-year sort of a roadmap. This can potentially happen in the next 3 to 5 years.
No, absolutely. I think we've seen in multiple sectors. We work with a lot of startups. Obviously, I think a lot of the value still is concentrated in larger players. Newer players that be a breakout once in a while, but otherwise the larger players usually end up taking most of the revenue share.